Hi everyone. Before I start, thanks to the Pi Data organizer and Cactus for this meetup. So I will just present a small project I worked. I'm not an expert in just I'm learning Earth observation, geospatial analysis, and remote sensing. So just mentioning. So a big brief presentation. I have a background in physics and math and a PhD in astronomy, astrophysics. So for 10 years, I work as a researcher, occasional teacher at university, and a professional learner. And basically, in my research, I was using radio antenna. So it's basically similar to the satellite antenna you use for TV, but several meters wide. Like this one is like 30-meter wide. And a small fun fact about me, I speak 3.1 language. And I let you guess why the point one. So basically, why Earth observation? So astronomy, basically you have an object here, galaxies that emit light, and we just measure it with a telescope. Earth observation is a bit similar. The difference is that the light comes from the sun, arrive on Earth, reflect, and we detect it with a satellite. So basically, the main difference is in astronomy, we look up, and with Earth observation, we just look down. But the methods are pretty similar because we use light as a proxy to get information. So for this project, I just used data from the Copernicus program, which is a European Union space program. And it has several missions. And the one I use is simply observing the Earth in visible and infrared light at resolution of about 10 meter to 60 meters, so the size of the pixels. And for this project, I just take a lake that you probably never heard about it, except if you live in Mexico. It's a Pátzcuaro lake, so it's a lake located in central Mexico, about 65 kilometers from where I was living back in time. It has seven small islands of it, which are inhabited, and it's famous because it's one of the main tourist attraction in Mexico during El Dia de Muertos, which is one of the main event and the main event in November. The reason I choose it, well, I guess it's simpler here. This is a Pátzcuaro lake. This is Inari Lake. So I just choose this because the shape is much simpler. And the other reason is this photo that comes from 2022 or 2023, I don't remember. This island is close to the edge, and as you see, at some point the lake was completely dry. So my idea was just to study the surface and how it evolved. So first step was to take care of the cloud coverage. If we have this image, we are super happy. We have nice view of the lake. But when you have clouds, you start saying, okay, where is the lake exactly? So there are some solution, and the simple one was just to take all the observation in a month and take the one that has less coverage. And I have some threshold criteria just to get rid of the image if it was still too cloudy. Once you have the image, well, basically you just use physical properties of the ground, vegetation, and water. Basically, the ground reflects light. This is why we see the ground, and infrared. I just refer you to the greenhouse effect. But contrary to ground, water absorbs infrared. So if you just use an index that is just a ratio between visible and infrared light, you can get this image which shows this index, which by definition, by construction, is between -1 and 1. And typically, people say above 0.3 is just water. So using this criteria, I can define a polygon here in white contours, which I define as a lake. I can calculate the area, and if I do it every month, I get this shape. So it's not perfect, and still, probably some of the oscillation are just due to some clouds. I can go further, but what I observe is basically that the lake in 10 years lost 6.2% of its area. And in particular, I identify this very big peak here is when the lake was completely dry, well, complete. Now in the future, I couldn't start this, it's just ideas. In parallel to Earth observation, I also study time series analysis. So I could find some meteorological data, really complicated, in temperature and in precipitation. So I can see that there is probably some variation with the seasons. Surprisingly, the lake seems to lose surface when it's raining. Not logical, but still. So I won't go further, but the project has a GitHub repository. Feel free to use it. Feel free to look at it if you're interested. Feel free to send me comments if you're an expert to help me improve. And also don't hesitate to connect on LinkedIn if you want. If you have any questions,
Thank you. I'm sure we can fit some questions.
With the raining and it loses air and it's raining, do you just want just a lag effect? Does it take some time before the rain ends up in the lake? Rain doesn't fall directly on the lake, it falls.
Yeah, it's possible. That's a possibility. Also, I didn't mention, but there are suspicions that this loss is not only weather related, because in this area there is the aguacatero, which just produce avocado, which illegally take some water. So it might be also human related effect, but
Well, if it was human related anyway, if it was getting hotter.
sorry?
If it was getting hotter and the lake was empty, that was human related too.
Yeah, also. So it's that weather might not be the only effect. No other questions? Well, I'm here until the end of the meetup, so if you have more questions, don't hesitate.